Jay, thank you for carving out time.
Thank you.
We're talking about Paul Newman. We love cars. We love Newman. He loved cars. Any stories that come to mind?
You know, he was always a hero of mine because being older than you, I was in college when he was on Nixon's enemies list. So he was sort of the guy, he was in popular movies and was wildly popular, but was also kind of an outsider. And he would give his money to charity or to that kids camp. So it was hard for kind of evil people to put a label on him. Paul Newman, he's not a patriot, he's anti-government. Oh no, he gives his money to kids and he does it. Oh, so it was, and then he did movies like Winning and some of these other movies. And he was a real race car driver. So it wasn't a guy, there wasn't a stunt double for Paul Newman. So that kind of cemented it for me. I didn't know him real well. He did the show. I spoke to him a number of times. Interesting guy, wouldn't sign autographs, but would give you the shirt off his back. He came to my garage, extremely knowledgeable. But the most fascinating thing was we had set up, NBC has these long studios where they did Laugh-In and all these other shows, and they're all empty. So the hallway goes for a quarter mile that way, go right, quarter mile back. He said, let's get some go-karts and we'll race. So we get these go-karts that are pretty fast, 35, 40 miles an hour in a building. Sure. It's pretty quick. Right. So I'm practicing all day, and I'm going, this is, okay, this will be easy. I'm cutting, I'm racing against I'm beating all the crew guys, and this is great. Newman comes in and looks at it, and he just gets that, and you see that racer glance,
right?
Which I obviously do not have. But he has that, it's like looking Mike Tyson in the eye, that killer instinct. Right. He gets in the car and, zing. Okay, so I'll just stay on his tail and pretty soon, and when I look at the footage of him coming around the corner, it's just the eyes moving. I mean, just a master driver. He just had that innate ability. He really did. I mean, he beat me so horrendously bad. Didn't even go, well, I'll cut Jay some slack.
Yeah,
it's his show. Just killed me. Just killed me.
And you say he was knowledgeble about cars. So when he
very
took
knowledgeable
a tour
about
of your
cars.
garage,
yeah, you know what? Well, that's this, and I remember these, and and so and so. We talked about things. Because when I was a kid, my brother lived in. He worked in New Canaan, lived in Ridgefield, and there was a place called Bob Sharp Datsun, and that's who he raced for. So that was sort of one of those legendary places when. When you're a young guy in your 20s, oh, this Bob Sharp, I go visit my brother, my God, it's Bob Sharp. I'd watch it like it was like the Beatles were performing there. It seemed like a cool place. Whatever he was associated with became very cool. And there were always those urban legends, which in his case turned out to be true. Occasionally I'd meet a guy that would say, I was in Connecticut and this Volkswagen pulls up and it's Paul Newman. And he just blew my doors off. I was in a Corvette or a Porsche. Well, he had that Volkswagen with the 351 Cleveland in the back seat, but it looked like a Volkswagen. It really, except for the big tires, if you were not a car person, you would just think. And it was so incredibly fast. And then he had the Volvo and a few other things. So he had a great sense of humor. He liked to build what the English call Q cars, which are cars that look normal, but have incredible abilities, speed and handling and whatnot. So that was kind of fun. And that Volkswagen of his is still around.
How was he as a guest on your show? Did you feel that he was reluctant? I mean, like, he had to go out and promote the movie contractually that had come out at that time, but would have rather been back in Connecticut or on a racetrack.
Well, I think he would have preferred that to almost anything. But I never got the sense that, what time is this over? I mean, in the dressing room, very knowledgeable. Thank you for coming. And talked about films that we liked and things like that, and various cars. And I talked about going past Bob Sharp, but Datsun, and very nice. Just a very nice man. If you were not in show business and you met him, you'd say, "Oh, that was a very nice man." Not dismissive, not snobby. He had a great sense of, with the exception of not signing autographs, a great sense of the average person.
There's sort of two ways to interpret not signing autographs.
Yeah.
One is douchebag.
Right.
The other is, I'm no different than you, my friend. Why do you need my autograph? I'm simply an actor.
To me, it always seemed like more trouble to explain why you're not signing one than just to sign it.
Right.
But he would always go, no, I don't do that. And he would explain to people why, and they would, could you sign it anyway?
Right.
So that, it's a quirk. And that was just his thing. I didn't think less of him for that.
Any other Newman stories, thoughts about the man, the racer?
Well, the interesting thing was, there was a car at my shop he wanted to buy, and he gave me a check.
What was the car, do you remember?
I think it was my little Rocket, my Gordon Murray car. But he didn't sign it. He filled it out, and here you go. Because he didn't sign autographs.
Really?
And I framed the check, and it's hanging on my wall. But he didn't sign it. So it's just funny. But he just was a nice guy, and very knowledgeable, and not at all movie starish.
How old was he when you did the go-kart race?
He must have been 79 to 80, because he had, what's interesting, when you looked at him, the blue eyes were just right there. But he was not frail, but you could see he was not as spry as he used to be.
Right.
But it was still Paul Newman.
Right.
You could look at his face and see the Paul Newman you remember in there. The kind of the charming personality, the smile. To me it was, oh, that's the guy from Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kids. Maybe that's his dad. I mean, that's what he looked like.
Right. What do you think his automotive racing legacy will be?
I mean, he was good at everything. He excelled at acting, very good at racing, and an all-around decent guy. I mean, it's that classic red-blooded American boy who tried hard and didn't, always try to have the spotlight on himself. He earned the spotlight. I mean, the spotlight was on him as a racer, but then when he won, it was like, oh, he won this on his own. And he wasn't racing Ferraris, and he wasn't racing, he was racing Datsuns, which were Datsuns. I mean, they were certainly a good car, but they were not the car of choice for wealthy show business people or Europeans, Lance Revler with the scarabs and all. It wasn't that. He chose these for whatever reason because he liked them and he thought they were fun. So I think it was something the average person could probably, well, I got a 510.
Right.
I could be like Paul Newman. It was something the average guy could aspire to. He didn't live at the top of the food chain with the cars. He started at the middle, or some would say even lower level, and earned the respect of the average guy. He stayed in the trailer. He didn't always stay in the plaza, and a limo didn't take him to his car.
Right.
He was just a guy. And I think he was a guy who was famous, and he was a guy other guys wanted to be. And even the guys who didn't like him, grudgingly, he won their respect when, I mean, the greatest thing people could say, he's okay, that guy. I think initially people wanted him to, let's watch the Hollywood boy crash. Oh,
right.
Wow. Geez, he's pretty good. And like I say, the fact that he chose to race an everyman's car, I think was admirable. The saddest thing I ever read about Paul Newman was he was kind of an out-of-work actor. And I think his dad thought he was a bum. And then his dad died. And then right after that, he got his first movie, The Silver Chalice, which wasn't a very good movie. But I always felt sorry for him that his dad never got to be a success, I mean, I don't know why that seemed important to me, because that was important to me that my dad got to see me be successful. And I remember his father died while he was, quote, nothing, just a guy taking acting classes. The father's going, geez, why don't you get a job? What are you doing? And I don't know if that affected him, but it must have in some way. I mean, it affected me.
And he lost his son too, which had to be just unbelievably painful.
That too. But like I say, just a regular guy, an all-American guy who made good and didn't lord over people with it. I won. I mean, I never heard him, I won this race. He would say, I was very lucky. When we were doing this, I was fortunate enough to have this crew, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So there was a good old-fashioned decency.
Yeah, he came from an era when you didn't sit up there and beat your chest and tell everyone how great you were.
I wouldn't see him today tweeting out victories or sending Facebook pictures. It just makes me laugh. It's just that sort of stoic American way.
Thanks, Jay. That was great.